She had rainbow-colored hair, a powerful voice that could shake windows, and a tough attitude that could end careers. This is the story of a pop star who fought with some of the biggest names in music during the 1980s. This artist wasn't just known for her quirky pop songs and colorful style. She was a street fighter from Queens who never forgot her humble beginnings. She had serious problems with many famous musicians of her time. As a young person growing up, she often read stories in newspapers about various music industry conflicts and drama. The working-class hero behind hit songs was known for one thing above all others: being real and authentic. When other artists didn't meet her high standards, she would tell them exactly what she thought. She once told a reporter that she didn't care how famous someone was. If they were fake, she would call them out on it. And she meant every word she said. Her battles with other musicians weren't just about music. They were about being genuine, showing respect, and deciding who deserved to be successful. Some of these fights happened in front of millions of people on live television. Others exploded behind closed doors where the public couldn't see. All of them showed just how fierce this colorful pop star could really be when she was angry. The first feud: Hall and Oates. The first major conflict was with the popular duo Hall and Oates. This feud showed the harsh class differences in American pop music during the 1980s. The rainbow-haired singer's anger toward the Philadelphia pair wasn't about their singing harmonies or musical abilities. Instead, it was about how easily they seemed to be accepted in the music world, while she had to fight extremely hard for any recognition. The problems reportedly started in 1983, when both acts were becoming more popular on the music charts, but through very different paths to success. A former record company executive said that the pop star once heard the song "Maneater" on the radio and told her band members that those guys could walk through doors that slammed shut in her face. She said it must be nice to have that kind of smooth privilege in the music business. What made her angry wasn't Hall and Oates' musical talent, but their seemingly easy path to stardom. While she had struggled in dirty New York nightclubs and fought against sexism in the music industry, Hall and Oates achieved massive success with what she called rich boy soul music and passion-free professionalism for people who don't want to feel anything real. She told a music magazine that some artists earn their reputation through hard work, while others get success handed to them like a gift. Many people understood this as a direct criticism of Hall and Oates and their polished rise to fame. The tension got worse when both acts were competing for Grammy Award nominations. At a music industry party in 1984, witnesses said she refused Daryl Hall's invitation to work together on a song. Later, she told her manager that she didn't make music with people who had never struggled for anything in their lives. Hall seemed confused by her cold attitude and later called her unnecessarily hostile in interviews. For the pop star, Hall and Oates represented everything she hated about the music business. They had effortless privilege that pretended to be real artistry. They had smooth sailing that was mistaken for genuine achievement. They had success without having to sacrifice anything important. The second feud: Tina Turner. The second major conflict was with the legendary Tina Turner. This was a clash between different generations that shook up the hierarchy of powerful female performers. The pop star's frustration with Turner wasn't about lack of respect for her abilities. Instead, it was about media attention and how the music industry was obsessed with comeback stories, which overshadowed new talent, trying to make it. The friction reportedly started in 1984, when Turner's album, Private Dancer, dominated newspaper and magazine headlines, just as the younger artist was trying to establish herself in the music world. A former MTV executive said the pop star once watched Turner's comeback coverage on television and told him that Turner gets praised for surviving difficult times, while newer artists get criticized for trying to succeed. She asked where the fairness was in that situation. What bothered the pop star wasn't Turner's incredible talent, but the media's priorities. While she was creating new sounds and challenging social norms, Turner was receiving overwhelming praise for what the younger artist called recycled greatness and nostalgia marketed as innovation. She told a music magazine that veteran performers get standing ovations just for showing up to events, while newcomers get picked apart and criticized for simply existing. Music industry insiders recognize this as frustration with bias against younger artists. The rivalry got more intense when both women were competing for Comeback of the Year stories in the media. At a 1985 awards ceremony, witnesses claimed the pop star avoided Turner's backstage area. Later, she told journalists that she wasn't there to bow down to yesterday's queens. Turner seemed unaware of the younger artist's resentment and later praised her unique energy in interviews. But for the pop star, Turner represented the industry's backwards priorities. The music business celebrated past glories while ignoring present innovation. It rewarded survival over creativity and forced emerging artists to compete with legends instead of being judged on their own revolutionary merits. The third feud, Blondie. The third major conflict was with the band Blondie, led by Debbie Harry. This was a vicious New York turf war that divided punk rock royalty. The pop stars' hostility toward Debbie Harry and her band wasn't about musical differences. It was about authenticity, street credibility, and who truly earned their punk rock reputation. The conflict reportedly began in the late 1970s, when both artists were trying to make it in Manhattan's underground music scene, but through different approaches. A former bartender at the famous CBGB Club said the pop star once watched Blondie perform and told fellow musicians that Debbie Harry was playing at being a punk princess, while the rest of them were actually living that lifestyle. She said there was a difference between visiting the scene and surviving it. What made the pop star furious wasn't Harry's success, but her perceived distance from real struggle and hardship. While the pop star had genuinely lived the broke artist lifestyle, Blondie was achieving mainstream success with what she called sanitized rebellion and punk light for people scared of actual danger. She told a music newspaper that real punk rock doesn't come with perfect makeup and manufactured attitude. Many people interpreted this as a direct challenge to Harry's polished punk persona. The rivalry exploded when both acts were being labeled as New York punk pioneers by the media. At a downtown club in 1983, witnesses claimed the pop star stormed out during Blondie's performance. Later, she told venue staff that she wouldn't watch punk rock being turned into a fashion statement. Harry seemed unaware of the other artist's anger and later called her talented but intense in interviews. For the pop star, Blondie represented punk rock's commercialization. They were transforming genuine underground culture into marketable rebellion, replacing authentic grit with calculated edge, and stealing credibility from artists who actually live the difficult lifestyle. The fourth feud. Pat Benatar. The fourth major conflict was with rock singer Pat Benatar. This was an explosive collision between two vocal powerhouses. The pop star's contempt for the rock goddess wasn't about singing range or technique. It was about manufactured toughness versus genuine resilience in the brutal landscape of female rock stardom. The feud reportedly erupted in 1983 when both singers were being positioned as rock's female warriors, but through dramatically different personas. A former record company executive said the pop star once heard Benatar's song, "Love is a Battlefield," and told him that Benatar was playing dress-up soldier while real women were fighting actual wars. She said the costume didn't fool anyone who had lived through real battles. What enraged the pop star wasn't Benatar's vocal prowess, but her constructed image. While the pop star had clawed her way through genuine hardship and industry sexism, Benatar was achieving rock credibility with what she called boardroom-approved rebellion and aggressive posturing designed by male executives. She told a music magazine that toughness isn't a leather jacket and choreographed attitude. Real toughness is surviving when everything is against you. Music industry insiders recognized this as a devastating critique of Benatar's manufactured edge and tough girl image. The rivalry reached its peak when both artists were competing for female rock legitimacy. At a 1984 music industry convention, witnesses claimed the pop star confronted Benatar directly, allegedly saying that her tough girl act insulted every woman who had actually fought for something important. Benatar seemed stunned by the pop star's aggression and later called her unnecessarily combative in interviews. But for the pop star, Benatar represented everything wrong with female rock representation. She was replacing authentic struggle wit and theatrical aggression, genuine empowerment with calculated rebellion, and real strength with packaged attitude. The fifth feud, the Go-Go's. The fifth major conflict was with the all-female band, the Go-Go's. This wasn't about sisterhood or female solidarity. It was a brutal questioning of musical ability and whether collective girl power could make up for individual musical shortcomings. The conflict reportedly began in 1982, when both acts were being celebrated as groundbreaking female forces, but through vastly different approaches. A former record producer said the pop star once watched the Go-Go's perform and told him they could barely play their instruments, but got praise because they were women working together. She said that wasn't empowerment, that was lowered expectations. What triggered the pop star wasn't their success, but their musical foundation. While she had developed serious vocal and performance skills through years of training and practice, the Go-Go's was achieving critical acclaim with what she called amateur hour disguised as female empowerment and novelty act mistaken for musical revolution. She told a music magazine that being women doesn't excuse being mediocre at music. Many people interpreted this as her most brutal assessment of standards for female bands. The rivalry intensified when both acts were being compared as female music pioneers by critics and journalists. At a 1983 industry showcase, witnesses claimed the pop star refused to appear on the same bill as the Go-Go's. Later, she told promoters that she wouldn't legitimize the idea that women don't need to be excellent musicians to be successful. Belinda Carlisle, the Go-Go's lead singer, seemed hurt by the pop star's dismissal and later called her elitist and unsupportive in interviews. But for the pop star, the Go-Go's represented a dangerous precedent in the music industry. They were accepting lower musical standards for women, celebrating collective mediocrity over individual excellence, and undermining serious female artists through novelty success. The biggest feud, Madonna. Finally, the most explosive revelation of all was the conflict with Madonna. The Material Girl reportedly earned the pop star's ultimate fury in what became the most ideologically vicious female rivalry of the 1980s. The war reportedly began in 1984, when both artists were revolutionizing female pop music through completely opposite philosophies and approaches. A former record company executive said the pop star once watched Madonna's Like a Virgin music video and told him that Madonna had turned female empowerment into a striptease. She said everything she had fought for, Madonna was destroying with calculated controversy, designed to shock people. What horrified the pop star wasn't Madonna's ambition or drive for success, but her methods for achieving it. While the pop star had challenged gender norms through authentic self-expression and working-class values, Madonna was achieving global domination with what she called fake liberation designed by focus groups and empowerment that actually serves male fantasies. This conflict represented a fundamental disagreement about what female empowerment should look like in popular music. The pop star believed in genuine authenticity and staying true to one's roots and values. She thought Madonna was using controversy and sexuality in calculated ways that ultimately served the male-dominated music industry rather than truly empowering women. The rivalry between these two artists became symbolic of larger debates in the 1980s about feminism, authenticity, and commercial success. While both artists achieved massive popularity, they represented very different approaches to being a successful woman in the music industry. The legacy of these feuds. These conflicts reveal the intense pressure and competition that existed in the 1980s music industry, particularly for female artists trying to establish themselves in a male-dominated business. Each feud represented different aspects of the challenges facing musicians during this era. The conflict with Hall & Oates highlighted class differences, and the perception that some artists had easier paths to success than others. The tension with Tina Turner showed generational conflicts and media bias toward comeback stories over new talent. The battle with Blondie revealed debates about authenticity in punk rock and underground music scenes. The feud with Pat Benatar exposed disagreements about manufactured versus genuine toughness in female rock music. The conflict with the Go-Go's raised questions about musical standards and whether collective success could compensate for individual limitations. Finally, the rivalry with Madonna represented fundamental philosophical differences about female empowerment and commercial success. Whether the pop star was protecting working-class authenticity or simply being fiercely territorial remains a matter of interpretation. These stories show the complex dynamics of the music industry during one of its most creative and competitive periods. They reveal how personal values, artistic integrity, and commercial success often came into conflict during the 1980s music scene. The feuds also demonstrate how female artists of the era had to navigate not only sexism from the male-dominated industry, but also complex relationships with other women who were pursuing success through different strategies and philosophies. These conflicts, while sometimes bitter, were part of the broader evolution of popular music and female representation.